Last year's Spanish Grand Prix was plagued with car problems for Red Bull and Ferrari, but despite an early trip into the gravel and no DRS for Red Bull, they still secured a 1-2. This year, the safe bet would be to expect the same, but with a large number of upgrades coming to a lot of cars on the grid, there is potential for a shake-up. Ferrari will be the second team of the season to debut a B-ish spec car, and we'll get to see what the B-spec Mercedes can really do. Aston Martin also had a load of upgrades in Monaco that will hopefully make it faster on a high-speed track like Barcelona. Let's check it out. First things first, let's talk about the Barcelona track and what we can expect from the race weekend as a whole. Like I said in the intro, last season Red Bull had a torrid time with the DRS not opening for some of the race, and Max Verstappen taking a trip into the gravel early on in the race. Despite this, Max Verstappen still managed to finish 13 seconds ahead of his teammate, and 33 seconds ahead of third place George Russell. The track favours a car that excels at mid to high speeds, and the RB19 is even better there than the RB18 was. This year, the race organisers have agreed with the FIA and F1 to revert to an old layout that was last used in 2006. That means the chicane before the pit straight is bypassed, with the penultimate corner, turn 13, a faster, sweeping right-hander that then leads into the final corner at a much higher speed. With the long pit straight to follow two such quick right-handers, the ability to follow more closely in these cars than the generation before should also mean there's still plenty of potential of the overtaking down into turn 1. That probably won't matter to Red Bull, but if any team has been able to find some speed and can stay within touching distance of a Red Bull, overtaking will be possible. The home fans will perhaps be most interested in how their two countrymen can make the most of these track changes. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz and Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso will be looking to give the Catalonian crowd something to cheer about this weekend. Carlos Sainz has enjoyed excellent home support in recent years, but there seems to be an added something in the atmosphere at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya when Fernando Alonso is racing there in a competitive car. Alonso's last win in Formula 1 came here in 2013, and that was also his last podium at his home race. Since then, he's finished no higher than 6th and only scored points on 3 occasions. But the two-time world champion will be very hopeful of improving on that record this weekend. Fresh from Monaco, where he was in with a chance of a victory, and picked up his best results since Hungary in 2014, the home fans will arrive with the Spaniard just 12 points behind Perez in the drivers' standings. And with Aston Martin showing strong pace at every venue so far this season, as well as introducing updates in Monaco, who would be against the fairy tale of him finally securing win number 33 in front of his adoring crowd? Which I guess is a good point to start talking about some car upgrades, and where better to start than with Aston Martin. Led by double world champion Fernando Alonso, the Silverstone team currently sits second in the Constructors' Championship, behind Red Bull after the first 5 rounds of the season. But whereas the Milton Keynes squad has excelled so far, largely due to its powerful DRS and aerodynamic efficiency, GPS data reveals Aston Martin to have impressive braking and low-speed traction. Impressive braking could be key for DRS overtakes, but that low-speed performance may not be as useful. Hopefully, the upgrades they have can do something to improve their high-speed performance though. For Monaco, the AMR23 was fitted with a revised suspension configuration and tweaks to the brake duct assembly, while cooling and downforce were optimized for the tight streets track. Aston Martin submitted to the FIA changes to the front suspension, with a section of the upper wishbone modified to improve the oncoming airflow over the rest of the car. At the front corner, the front wheel deflector has been minorly reshaped to better interact with air coming off the front wingtip area. Meanwhile, the rear suspension has gained revised fairings to boost the effectiveness of the corresponding brake ducts, while also assisting the airflow. There were other changes for Monaco as well, but they likely won't feature again in Spain. Aston Martin was meant to bring a much larger upgrade to Imola before it was cancelled. Ferrari decided to delay their upgrades for Barcelona, which we'll get to in a second, and Mercedes played their hand in Monaco, but Aston Martin decided to split theirs between the two races. Team principal Mike Crack said, "It's split a little bit. The Imola upgrades, the ones that make sense, we kept on the car for here. There were 1 or 2 bits that we bring to Barcelona, because it makes no sense to bring them here. It's a split approach. We'll have some updates here, we'll have some updates in Barcelona, and we will have some more to come after that. We can't wait to see what extras Aston Martin have to add on. A bit of deduction makes it pretty easy to guess at what they have coming. They must have fitted the upgrades that they thought would benefit them most in Monaco, meaning nothing that's aimed at a high-speed track. So in Barcelona, we should expect some aerodynamic upgrades that are going to help reduce drag and maximise their high-speed performance. Likely a new rear wing if I had to guess. Right, let's talk about Ferrari, who are in desperate need of some help this season. For all the talk about Mercedes being disappointing, Ferrari seem to have completely disappeared from the front of the grid. You haven't heard anything from Fred Vasseur about B-spec cars or apology letters to fans. That's what you call failing with grace. But in Spain, he will be hoping his team can start to turn their season around. The first major package of updates for Ferrari this season will mainly involve a massive bodywork upgrade. However, Vasseur says it is best to not read too much into the outcome of the Spanish weekend, as it will represent just one step in an ongoing effort to improve the SF23. Barcelona for sure. It will be an update on the car, but we're not planning to bring a big package each 5 races. We'll bring small update every single race. And I don't want to say it's Barcelona or nothing. After Barcelona, we'll have a small update in Montreal and another one in the UK or Austria. We are planning to bring updates every single race until the end of the season. So Barcelona is going to be a big upgrade, but there is much more planned for Ferrari. Clearly, this isn't like the Mercedes B-spec, where they are upgrading the car and then seeing where they want to go based on the data from that upgrade. Ferrari have a clear plan for the first half of the season, and Barcelona is a huge first step in that process. Let's talk about those Mercedes upgrades quickly. They got a run out in Monaco, but Barcelona will be the first real test for them. Merc has been off Red Bull's pace, but so has everyone else. After seeing the RB19's flaw in Monaco, it's clear why. Their car is so much further along the development path than anyone else, and the precision and sophistication of their car is far beyond the rest of the grid. At 130 points adrift of the Red Bull, and being well off the pace at most events this year, Lewis Hamilton and George Russell will be hoping the raft of upgrades they brought to Monaco, including a new floor, front suspension and side pods, mark the start of Mercedes going back in the right trajectory. It's not the place to ultimately test an upgrade, but the car was generally feeling good, Hamilton said after driving with the new parts for the first time in Monaco. A bit of a shame we weren't as close as I'd have hoped, but definitely felt the improvements, and we've got to keep chipping away at it and see if we can squeeze any more juice out of the car. The vital benchmark for Mercedes will be if they can close that 33-second gap to Max Verstappen from last season, and either fight Alonso for a podium, or even better, get one up on Checo. It's a big ask, but that's the level they need to be at. The problem is the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is already a track that people feel will suit Red Bull. Its long main straight will play to the strength of the RB19, and with further upgrades, Red Bull might just become virtually invincible in the races moving forward. We're going to try something new in Barcelona, Helmut Marko said as quoted by RBR News on Twitter. How different, we don't yet know. It definitely isn't going to be a Mercedes-style overhaul, because they don't need to. With the cost cap and their testing punishment, major changes seem unlikely, but they have got upgrades planned for Barcelona. The rest of the teams just have to hope their upgrades work better. Which team are you most excited to see on track this weekend? Are you expecting the gap to Red Bull to close or open even further? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.